we will extradite you and we will bring you to justice. We cannot allow this political violence to continue any longer. This arrest will serve as a reminder to many. Do not do this. We will find you. Greg Kehoe is going to give some details of the incident, of the horrible crime, and we're not going to get into specifics of what's in the letter. It's pretty horrific, and it's now a pending case. But I just want to thank all of the law enforcement officers standing behind me, and I want to thank Benny and Kate for standing so strong and fighting for their views and not cowering in fear, but coming out and supporting their faith and their values. Thank you.
Thank you, General. Just preliminarily, I'm Greg Kehoe, the U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Florida. I just want to introduce some of the individuals that are here at the podium so you can put names to faces, and they have all participated in this. As the General has said, this was a coordinated effort. In my far right is Rodney Crawford. He's the Assistant Special Agent in charge of the FBI. Next to him is Blad Rojo, who is the Inspector in charge for the Postal Service, and Mark Glass is behind me. Right behind me, he is the Commissioner of FDLE, and last but certainly not least is Chief Lee Burkaw of the Tampa Police Department. You know, often we talk about coordinated, organized efforts by law enforcement to get something done, and I will tell you this is a textbook example of that. This letter came in to Mr. Johnson and his wife. They contacted the Tampa Police Department. Lee Burkaw and his folks at Tampa Police Department got on this letter right away, pulled in the FBI, pulled in FDLE. The Postal Service was able to track where this letter was sent from in San Diego in a miraculously quick period of time. FDLE turned around the fingerprints that were obtained from the particular letter to identify George Russell Isbell on this matter, and there was an arrest by the FBI who was coordinating this in outside the San Diego area in conjunction with the local U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI in San Diego, and last but not least, the San Diego Police Department. What we have here, and you can look at the complaint that has been filed and that is before you, is a vicious, horrific letter threatening Mr. Johnson and his family, sent to Mr. Johnson's house. In the complaint that you'll see, and also it attaches Isbell's letter, he is calling for the extermination of Mr. Johnson, that he should be strangled by an American flag, that he hoped somebody blows his head off, and then some vicious comments thereafter. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been at this podium many times before, and I say this and I say it again to echo what the Attorney General has just said and what the Attorney General has said throughout the country when similar instances have come up. Such conduct will simply not be tolerated. It will not be tolerated. If you send a communication to anyone, anyhow, anywhere, where you are threatening individuals with harm, you will be prosecuted by the United States Department of Justice. And you will be prosecuted while we bring all of the joint assets of law enforcement, as you see here, the Tampa Police Department, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the United States Postal Service, and of course, coordinating this is the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So the word should go out, and it should be no mistake that if you decide at any point, at any time, to write such a thing and send it over the wires, or in this instance, put it in the mails, you will be prosecuted and you will be held accountable. If we can just take a couple of moments, I know Mr. Johnson wants to make a few comments, and I invite you to do so.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, officers. 1 month ago today, I witnessed my friend of 10 years, someone who I considered a brother, a loving husband.
Surely we're not going to use this to be a moment of anti-Semitism, right, Benny? Because the guy was Jewish, I guess.
A devoted father, a generational leader.
Hopefully.
Get assassinated on a live stream by a left-wing radical.
Sure, Benny.
Approximately 1 year ago, I witnessed the President of the United States get shot in the head.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
By a left-wing radical.
Bro.
Who also took the life of a Trump supporter in front of his daughters
This dude is literally fucking retarded.
and wife. 2 months ago,
I bet he'd call the fucking, inanimate sky a left radical.
Christian children kneeling and praying in a church were slaughtered by a left-wing extremist. And 2 weeks ago, federal law enforcement
The church shooting one?
was shot at multiple sniper rounds in a federal facility by a left-wing extremist. If it's
Okay, I was joking, bro. The CDC shooter was most definitely not a left dude. He would literally call the sky a left-wing radical.
happening
I
every
think.
single week, is it that extreme? Or has the Democrat Party mainstreamed violence
This guy would definitely participate in the Holocaust with glee. 100%, bro.
as a political tool?
What the fuck is this?
The individual who wrote me
Was Jewish?
described why he wanted me dead.
Anti-Semitism?
I was a white, cis, Christian Trump supporter. They described in great detail how I would be killed in an open field, just like Charlie.
Charlie was not killed in an open field.
How much blood would come out of my head and neck when it was blown off.
I doubt it would be filled with, like, nice things. It's a death threat.
This individual described orphaning my 4 beautiful children and widowing my wife.
Yeah, this guy sounds crazy. I'm sorry, bro.
With great joy.
Okay. So, let's not take the time right now to promote anti-Semitism, hopefully.
You might want to say another left-wing radical, another extremist. And to that, I would like to direct your attention to the state of Virginia, where Democrats have nominated and are about to vote for the chief law enforcement officer in that state, a man who has done the...
You mean like the Attorney General? Does he mean the Attorney General? Why wouldn't he just say the Attorney General? I don't fucking get it. Is it so people can't go look the guy up or something? Or it makes it harder to? Okay, well, this is pretty bad. Who is this guy? Well, not very smart to do if you're running for governor. This is most definitely not a directed extremist remark so far. He went on to posit a hypothetical scenario. Definitely not in good taste put Gilbert in. This is definitely a pretty bad joke. I don't know. Especially if you're in office, you know, you got to be a little bit more intelligent with your remarks, in my opinion. Yeah. I wouldn't really call this a directed extremist remark, considering that I do think he probably shouldn't run anymore, though. Guy clearly doesn't know that if you're in office, you have more of a responsibility. Wouldn't vote for him, personally.
Exact same thing.
It's not the exact same thing, though. But he's definitely going to say it is, isn't he?
An individual who's calling for the assassination
No, he didn't. Come on now.
by bullets of Republicans.
Calling for the assassination? These are private text messages, buddy. What does the word calling for again mean? Like call to action? Is a private text message essentially in this regard, which is fundamentally a really bad fucking joke and wouldn't make me vote for him. I think he should probably drop out. But like, you've got to be fucking kidding me, right? Like, does this guy not know what a call is? It's meant to be public.
Republicans that he disagrees with. The killing of their children. The slaughtering of
The wish of death is not the same as the planning and execution of
as
the
he
death.
says, little fascists. Are my four innocent, beautiful children little fascists?
Again, I wouldn't vote for him, but
Violence has been mainstreamed.
my God, bro. We have lost the plot.
By the Democrat Party. It is not extremist, it is mainstream.
If you watch this guy's channel for more than like 2 seconds, you'd realize that this is nothing but smoke.
And we need a moment of reckoning here. This has
You got to beat the violence with violence before the violence happens, I think.
to stop.
Got it.
This cycle must end.
Yep. And you are the one to do it. So you're calling to action. They stop.
Is any Democrat courageous enough to disavow violence?
That's not what you're calling for.
To call for individuals that espouse these things, like what happened to my family, or what's happening in Virginia?
He apologized directly to the people he was talking about, right? Privately. At least show some remorse over it, I guess. I mean, that would probably be a good time to bring that up if you're going to say this, but
To call for those kind of candidates to step down?
I do think he should step down, though.
Will Democrats
Like, it shows that he doesn't know if he is the attorney general, a very important position, that you cannot make statements like that, even privately. I think someone better is probably around.
vote for that? Because
Is he now an extremist? No. What
if
the
you're
fuck?
voting for that, then implicitly you're encouraging
I wouldn't vote for that.
it. You're endorsing it.
Agreed.
I don't want political violence. I want peace in my nation. I
No, you don't. Shut the fuck up, bro. Shut the fuck up.
love this country. I want to be able to debate like Charlie did.
This guy does not love America.
I want to be able to raise my family in peace. That is our birthright. But you
No, it's not actually.
cannot make peace with evil as a Christian.
Oh, there it is. It's simple. Can't make peace with evil, so you gotta be evil by being evil,
You cannot unite with people who want you dead.
so kill them first.
I want unity in this nation.
So kill them first.
I want to be able to agree on more than what we disagree on.
So kill them.
But for that first to happen, we must understand the battle.
Yeah, and that means killing them first.
We are fighting good versus evil, darkness
Exactly. Eliminate the dark.
versus light. And good must conquer evil.
And I'm wondering who the good here is. It's coming to me slowly.
Do not make peace with evil. To that end, and in conclusion, I would like to thank federal law enforcement, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, the FBI, the DOJ, the Tampa Police Department, the detectives here, with absolute pinpoint accuracy, professionalism, courtesy.
Yeah, I'm getting John right now. I'm getting real John 10 vibes, if you know what I mean. Where is it? I want one that really encapsulates. I am the good shepherd. It's simple. Okay?
And that they live down to all the
Swift
stereotypes.
and tact. They were able to act instantly in order to make sure that my family was safe.
How come Mitt Romney's family didn't get this kind of treatment, or like any other Republican senator that went against Trump? What about Adam Kinzinger? Liz Cheney? Does anyone remember a single Republican before 2020 who's still in office that went against Trump, if they're even in office? Or, oh wait, they're not. That's right. Unless you're a fucking loser who has to give your entire life to Trump. This is the protection you'll get, I guess. Cool for you, Benny.
Potentially to preserve the
Waste
lives of
fucking money.
my children. And they're doing that for families all around the country in many different ways. Every American should unite behind that cause. No matter who you are, you should say, this is a country where families should be able to raise their children safely, where people can have peaceful disagreements, where we can all live together under one American flag. I just want to profoundly thank the Trump administration and federal law enforcement and local law enforcement for saving my family. I will never forget it. It is the greatest goodness that has ever been done to me. And that is a thing that every American can get behind. The Trump administration making America safe again. God bless them.
Wow. Come back to that. Shocking.
Thank you. We'll take, do you want to, you have a few questions?
Attorney General,
Wait, I'll go left to right. Okay.
Attorney General, I do know that it's unfortunate what happened to your family in that letter, but he just described that this is solely put on by the Democratic Party. Do you see it that way, that this is something that is caused by the Democratic Party?
No, and I just talked about what happened in Minnesota to a Democrat, what happened in Pennsylvania to a Democrat governor.
Wow.
No, this was a left-wing radical, absolutely.
The guy you just arrested? What, wasn't he Jewish? Like, wasn't it for his Israel comments?
The same type of person who murdered and assassinated Charlie Kirk. That's what we're talking about here today.
Yeah, and what type of person is that, Pam? Is that better? Maybe I'm a little more light, too. We'll do that. That looks okay. Right? A bit more? No. I don't want to see my face.
But it does.
I like how Pam Bondi, if asked to profile right now, how these two are somewhat the exact radical. I feel like if anyone asked that, she would be like, well, because they're left radicals.
Doesn't matter who you are. If you commit an act of violence, a written threat through the mail, we are going to find you. These men behind me are going to hunt you down and find you.
Sounds like a lot of money.
This guy thought he got
For every threat, sounds like a lot of money.
away with this. and he thought
Yeah.
he could hurt Benny
I know
and his
you're right.
family,
It's just-
and it's not going to happen. We have open cases, other open cases all over this country, and we're going to find you. Any other question? Yes, hey. Sure.
A couple questions. One is just about the case itself. Does this fellow, was he found to have any music carried out? Did he have firearms available?
This is an ongoing investigation. The man is in custody. I will defer that question until the appropriate time because it is still very much under investigation and following all the leads that we possibly can.
And that's a very good question.
Because
Does this fellow, was he found to have any music carried out? Did he have firearms available?
this is an ongoing investigation.
Yep, but that doesn't stop her from just claiming it's a left-wing radical, exactly like the Charlie Kirk killer. Someone remind the Attorney General that it is still an ongoing investigation. Where were you fucking 10 seconds ago, you fucking bald fuck?
The man is in custody. I will defer that question until the appropriate time because it is still.
I love that they're in Florida, by the way, because I can think of someone else who had to step down from the Attorney General position in Florida for taking a bribe about a decade ago. Can anyone remember who that is? Oh yeah, fucking Pam Bondi.
Very much under investigation.
Welcome back.
Following all the leads that we possibly can.
Dude.
And that's a very good question.
Ugh.
Sure.
The fucking circus here, dude.
The president said, I disagree with Charlie. I hate him.
Fucking hear PBS. What kind of fucking press conference is this?
I don't want the best for them. Would you encourage the president, just given what we're talking about here, and the seriousness and how people take every word and use it to reinforce their preconceived notions about people? Someone crazy could act on words.
Is this like a 5D question? He just probably can't hear. I heard him say, is the president concerned about people who use, things you say to further their own radical agendas? And I think this is like a kind of like a satirical question at her, maybe?
Would you encourage the president to not say things?
The president said nothing about violence.
She saw that. She's like, you're not going to get me.
Absolutely nothing. And that was in response, I believe, to amazing Erica Kirk talking about her forgiveness. And he was saying how brave and bold she was.
I wonder if he said anything that would remotely Dude, I was looking for something else, but now I'm just reminded that Trump is quite literally the dumbest motherfucker on the planet. This just means tariff. In countervalence. In export controls. It means they want to stop trading with the US probably. Plus, we don't even let rare earths a lot of the time come from China. China would destroy our economy and our markets if we let them. We have countervalence on like steel and a bunch of other fucking metals and materials from China already. So God, he's so fucking stupid, bro. Can't fucking handle him. How far do I have to go, I guess? It should be renamed after Trump. Okay, got it. I guess I have to go pretty far to find. Totally within his indictment, so I don't know. Not that big of a deal. Praise. Praise. What do we call that? What the fuck did he do? Okay, here we go. A lot of words, Pam.
And how difficult it is to forgive
Hey, Energy.
the person who assassinated. No, I'm not worried about that because that was not said. That was not said. No act of violence was said. If anyone is sending a threatening communication through the mail, like
Again, where was Mitt Romney and his family's, response like this? I can name a bunch more. It doesn't matter. Benny Johnson, a random political commentator who sucks Trump's dick, I guess, gets the entire fucking FBI body to go after every single fucking message. But like, yeah, can you resend it? The theory of reflection or something like that. Was it theory of reflexivity? Yeah, there it is. This one. Yeah, it's just like actual senators who, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, he was a House rep, not a senator, but they don't get anything. But Benny Johnson, the actual fucking fascist dude on YouTube, and that's a fact. I'm sorry. The guy's like, I want peace by killing. Okay, that guy gets the full weight of the FBI to investigate every letter and death threat. Get the fuck out of here, bro. Oh my God. It's just John 10. I am the good shepherd energy going on here.
Good afternoon, and
No, it's not. Not against your own country. And not in the United States. What part of Benny Johnson's good versus evil is warranted in the United States? Like, come on now. Fuck. Well, you don't need to be familiar with them to know what I just said, though, right? What part of this makes sense?
To step down? Will Democrats? You cannot unite. I want for that, then implicitly you're encouraging it. You're endorsing it. I don't want political violence. I want peace in my nation.
Cool.
I love this country. I want to be able to debate like Charlie did. I want to be able to raise my family in peace. That is our birthright. But you cannot make peace with evil as a Christian. You cannot unite with people who want you dead.
So kill them first.
I want unity in this
So kill them.
nation. I want to be able to agree on more than what we disagree on.
So kill them.
But for that first to happen, we must understand the battle.
And
We are
that's,
fighting
we
good
need to
versus evil,
eliminate
darkness
them.
versus light.
Mm-hmm.
And good.
Oh, well, that's the funny part, Bogos. It's evil. It's that simple, man. You just eliminate the evil.
Must conquer evil.
Yeah.
Do not make peace with evil.
It's that simple.
To that end, and in conclusion,
That's for him to show us and for you to find out, Bogos. That's why he hides behind the word evil. It means anything your heart desires and is afraid of at the moment. Doesn't it? I mean, if you were going to categorize something as evil, you might want to try and describe what that evil is in this press conference instead of leaving it so fucking retardedly open-ended, right? I don't know. He got death threats. from a shitty person who I think was a Jewish person. No, this person got prosecuted, probably rightfully, actually. But he's using the time to try and essentially advance what I think when I watch Benny Johnson, which is a very clear fascist agenda. Like, this dude would willfully participate in eliminating that evil, Bogos. Just the scum, you know, they're not human, okay? That's Benny. Benny
I would
will
like
say
to
that,
thank.
and he would actually participate in it 100%. Because it's really easy if you just say it's evil.
Federal?
They were arrested, yeah. I think for his anti-Jewish views. The person, I think, who sent the death threats, supposedly wrote some pretty horrible stuff in it. I mean, there's a lot of crazies in the world, man. I don't know.
Law enforcement.
But, like, that's not what he's talking about here, right? You don't even know what this is about when you hear this, don't you?
Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, the FBI, the DOJ, the Tampa Police Department, the detectives here, with absolute pinpoint accuracy, professionalism, courtesy,
Lack of vocabulary.
swift and tact. They were able to act instantly in order to make sure that my family
You could have just kept it at, like, Swift, bro.
was safe. Potentially to preserve the lives of my children. And they're doing that for families all around the country.
This is Benny Johnson. Here, let me show you Benny Johnson in the flesh. I'm pretty sure this guy was someone who was a Zionist who didn't like Benny for his anti-Semitic views because... Is this AI? What the fuck? Benny. Jesus Christ.
Yo, what's up?
Man, he really has mastered the art of AI thumbnails. You didn't know Benny Johnson was anti-Semitic? He was like one of the first people when Charlie was shot to be like, Israel hired a fucking 21-year-old kid from Utah with acne on his face that's transgender loving. My man is a rabid dog when it comes to that. Okay? He posts a lot. Holy fuck, dude. I thought it was going to be much quicker. Well, not really, because like Groyper can still absolutely fit with the memes, so I don't know how you think the Groyper idea is less likely, because it's an online community, which this kid very clearly was in. The fact that the FBI has not released any more evidence. Every day they don't release a single thing, because you know they would. Kash Patel's, there's no way he would sit on more evidence of this person being on the alt left or something. I never really saw him in Charlie's orbit, but they definitely share viewers. I think Charlie liked to distance himself from this guy, personally. I think. But the first thing he did was
I'm never at a loss for words on this channel. Until this moment, I have no words. Perhaps it's for the best. This afternoon, Charlie Kirk was taken home by his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, when a gunman shot Charlie in the neck from 200 yards with a rifle on a Utah college campus, ending his life. Charlie Kirk died.
wait, what?
Exactly how he lived, speaking the truth bringing salt and light into the world and into darkness. Charlie Kirk's legacy will be that of a martyr. Charlie Kirk is an American martyr. He is a Christian martyr. He died for his faith and his country. Charlie Kirk died speaking the truth. He died giving commentary on left-wing violence. These were the last words that he spoke on this earth before a maddening gunman with a single shot took his life. Really has been.
It feels like this video was cut, actually. Did he fucking change it? Because I remember something different. Weird. Oh. Okay. My Charlie Kirk passion. I like Charlie Kirk. I didn't like that he got assassinated. It still is fucking me up. Yeah. Benny Johnson was on a different channel. I think it was Candace who fucking brought up his interview with Megyn Kelly. Is that what it was? That's what I think I'm remembering. What the fuck? Are all of them deleted? Or are they lives? Oh, they're lives. I see, I see. There it is. It's in here, I think. Come on, Candace, don't let me down. You are shy. Tell us more. I could have sworn I saw Benny Johnson in her podcast, but she really likes that one video. That's for sure. And it doesn't matter. This guy sucks.
In many different ways. Every American should unite.
And welcome to the CEU Lectures. I'm John Shattuck, President and Rector of Central Europe.
Thank you very much. And
yeah, I enjoyed listening to him, actually. I definitely... I've been watching him for what, like 7 years? So in a way, it almost feels like, even though I disagree with just about everything he said, like straight up, I think he was bad faith as fuck in his debates. I feel like he appealed to the audience way too much. He was hungry for attention, and that this video exists on the fucking internet, where he very much should have had his career ruined. There's no way someone could honestly fucking act like this and still be around. But in a way, I think he was, you know, he was a good person, probably a good dad.
Like good classical.
Didn't deserve to be shot by some fucking, you know, kid with acne on his face who was in like a shitty ass fucking radical online community or something.
And
like, I don't think this kid just did realize what he just did.
now I'm really gonna lose. Should I say it? I'm not even gonna say what I don't like. You guys can guess what kind of music.
Like anyone who has this video online, This should have been taken down a long time ago.
I don't enjoy, but I refuse to alienate my audience. But there's just there's a difference between music and noise.
No, there's not.
Aharmonic music is
Not a word.
not music.
Yes, it is.
So I'll let
It's called atonal music. Atonal music is really hard to do. There's like entire PhDs dedicated to it.
you guess what kind of music I don't like.
Rap is most definitely not atonal.
But I love classical music. I love good Christian music. I absolutely love 70s and 80s rock. I
So harmonic, bro. Fucking Motley Crue. Girls.
love it. It's very, very, in a lot of ways, it draws inspiration from some of the greats.
Yeah. Girls. Bon Jovi.
And so if it's good music, I think music today is mostly garbage.
Wrong.
To be perfectly honest with you, it's very
There's just a lot of it.
repetitive.
He says. 80s and 70s classic rock, not repetitive.
It's not very tonal. And I play the saxophone, clarinet, the piano, all forms of saxophone.
He does.
All forms of clarinet.
So he says this.
I haven't played it in quite a while. I was all-state bass clarinet back in.
All-state bass clarinet. Does anyone know what that means? If you're all-state in a band, you are kind of like on a football team in a way. But no one would ever say, I was the all-state bass clarinet player. You would say, I was an oboe player or a bassoon player.
A different life at a different time. And so music is something I wish I could spend more time with.
Yeah, except you were all-state bass clarinet, I guess. So, I also play every instrument known to man. Like, I bring this up only because, like, he's such a fucking loser sometimes. But, I really don't like that this guy was fucking murdered in front of his family. It's so fucked up.
Play the clarinet and sign books at the same time.
That's a very good question.
It's a very good question.
I can only play half the scales.
Hello. For people who don't know, okay, a bass clarinet like an oboe is usually in B flat or A flat, if I'm not mistaken, okay? Or like a bassoon. Let's just say a bassoon, the lowest. I think that's going to be in, the fuck, why is my O key not working? Okay, it's usually going to be in like B flat, or I guess the bassoon is in C. So I just want people to understand, you could play every scale. You just can't play every fucking octave. I'm literally, how the fuck is this possible?
Because it wouldn't.
It's like, imagine me saying I can only play C3 to C4 right now. And I'm like, I can't play every scale. Like, what are you talking about? You can still.
Actually be physically possible. However, if I did,
I can only practice the C scale on my fucking.
If I did the entire scales from all the way down, my goodness.
The octaves, my goodness.
I can't even remember where it starts.
Yeah, except he's all state bass clarinet, guys. So like, this video exists, and somehow this is not known. He's desperate for attention, always has been. Fucking lies about everything. But I still am fucked up because I liked watching him. And he didn't deserve to be fucking murdered in front of his family. Like, I think Charlie, I'm going to be honest with you. I wouldn't call Charlie a fascist, but I think in time he may have been one. I seriously do. He was very much involved with the fucking Trump administration. From about 2021, 2020, 2019, he was still like very involved with Trump as like an idol, but I definitely sensed the shift around that time.
Then it would be quite difficult.
Yeah, imagine if you could just like, play like different notes in your bassoon. Imagine, bro, like you physically cannot play in a big band or an orchestra with a bassoon if there's a modal change. If you're like C major, right? And then you go to like D minor. Fucking bassoon's fucked. I'm sitting this one out.
Interesting. So who was your idol
Wow, that's a great question.
It's not like you can just, play like an inverted G flat or something or an F sharp. Nope, you're fucked on the bassoon.
My idol growing up, I love, it's so very funny. You guys can
You know what I mean?
check this right now.
Yeah, we know.
Actually, do we have this in the book? I think we do. Andrew, I think we have this in the book, where I have my tweet from 2011. I say this with no pandering at all whatsoever. In 2011, I sent out a tweet begging Donald Trump to run for the presidency.
Yeah. Anyways.
I would note the administration won an identical case in the Ninth Circuit.
I just, probably, but like, I don't know how he doesn't understand this, but like rap is very much tonal. All music and notes in general are just noise. It's just, to make atonal music is really fucking hard. Kind of impossible with MIDI software, if I'm being honest, unless you are trying to, if you know how to make it so there's no tonal center of a key, like if you're, I don't even know how to fucking do it. I'm not someone who knows how to play atonal music, but it's hard. I can like shift the tonal center pretty well. Like I know music theory pretty well, but there's like entire PhDs dedicated to fucking microtonality and like atonality, dude. Like, but rap, if I was gonna make a bass line right now, like rap is just really, rhythmic, fucking tonality and progression or melody. Sorry. So like, let's just use. I think the hollow one's pretty fun. If I remember correctly. No. There we go. That'll work. To say that that's like atonal is retarded. It is like just rhythmically. Okay, it's a little more omnidirectional, right? It's like more of a sensational feeling, right? That's why rap kind of hits the body, I think, a little bit more than just like a hi-hat cymbal.
Just a few months ago with respect to the federalizing of the California National Guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
No, he doesn't. I remember when he said this. Plenary. Actually fucking mistake.
Stephen? Stephen? Hey, Stephen, can you hear me?
Why is he doing that? What does plenary mean? Full, complete, absolute. I think he's saying that Trump would have authority no matter what a judge says. You mean if they lose the appeal, they might just send the National Guard to Portland anyway and ignore the judge's ruling? Yeah. Oh, your surprise party's today. My surprise birthday party? Hello?
I would note the administration won an
This is good content. What the
identical
hell?
case in the Ninth Circuit just a few months ago with respect to the federalizing of the California National Guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen? Stephen? Hey, Stephen, can you hear me?
I kind of already do that. If you've noticed when I talk to people sometimes, even though it seems like I'm interrupting a lot, one of the best things you can do for someone who is batshit insane is just let them talk half the time.
Thank you for
Usually they'll dig themselves a hole,
coming, and both here and in London.
It's way too hot. I'm gonna take this off.
In the course of my life, I've developed a conceptual framework which has helped me both in making money as a hedge fund manager and in spending it as a policy-oriented philanthropist. But the framework itself is not about money. It's about the relationship between thinking and reality, a subject that is extensively studied by philosophers from early on. I started developing my philosophy as a student at the London School of Economics in the late 1950s. I took my final exams 1 year early, and I had a year to fill before I was qualified to receive my degree. I could choose my own tutor, and I chose Karl Popper, whose book, The Open Society and Its Enemies, had made a profound impression on me.
Charlie was essentially one of the largest political commentators in this country. And he was kind of the voice of a generation, like the younger generation. You know, for all the shit I say about Charlie, Charlie was very successful in communicating to the youth. So Charlie was like on the cusp of being just big enough to where he would make a societal impact, you know, and also just small enough to where he's not going to have like Secret Service or something, right? So I'm an independent, so I guess that's probably the answer. I don't really subscribe to politics. It's a continuum for me. I'm not really big on letting something fucking be a subscription, you know what I mean? In that regard. I have conservative views and progressive views. Depends on what it is.
In his books, Popper argued that the empirical truth can't be known with absolute certainty. Even scientific laws
I'm not a centrist, though.
Can't be verified beyond the shadow of a doubt. They can only be falsified.
I didn't say it was an easy position, Grant.
By testing.
It's fucking. But that's the part about politics and life that's hard. If it is easy, it's not you're not doing good. I think I have more conservative personal family views for sure. And then I think markets should be as free as they possibly can. Depending on the type of good it is. I think pure communism or the ideas of it are just as bad as like pure fascism, or just fascism, sorry. Fascism doesn't really have a striata yet, or like a stratification like that. But nonetheless, I think they're the same. And then for my progressive views, I guess you can call me socially progressive because I kind of defend the idea of gay rights and like trans rights, but to me, I don't really think that's progressive. Fundamentally, it's almost like a conservative take if you think of like Lockean rights of private property, unalienable rights. So I don't know. Depends on which person is trying to talk to me and what type of narrative they're trying to trap you in.
One failed test is enough to falsify.
I don't really care that much about like, you know, the sanctity of marriage as it relates to the Bible, because most marriage laws are generally just concerned with how the state views it, right?
But
so
no amount.
To me, I just don't think it's a conservative or progressive take to be like, why are we going to fuck people on taxes via the state and just disconnected from the state, you know, mentally? Like, it doesn't mean it's just fucking stupid.
It's sufficient to verify. Scientific laws are hypothetical in character, and their truth remains subject to testing. Ideologies which claim to be in possession of the ultimate truth are making a false claim.
I agree with this.
Therefore,
also something I don't think is neatly categorized. I think the United States military has been a positive for the world. If we look at a historical relationship, but then I think it is important to know that, like, depending on who you're talking to, that could easily be not true. So what I think of is different as it relates to like an Iraqi citizen who lived through shock and awe. Like, there's nothing I can say to convince that person that they're the U.S. is a positive foreign influence. I personally think the U.S. is, but I can understand how it's just not true in that scenario. I think we obviously need to respect people who give their life for service or enlist in the military. I think the amount of spending we have as it relates to it is not a progressive or conservative issue. I think it's just a fundamentally like a problem, at least as it relates to the government and private contracting and how we view capitalism. Because I mean, if only one company can make something, it's not capitalism anymore. I don't think that's a progressive or conservative issue.
They can be imposed on society only by force. This applies to communism, fascism, and National Socialism alike. All these ideologies lead to repression.
I mean, yeah. I think it probably was a step. I think the more wealthy some of those countries got, like Saudi Arabia, the more they realized that driving Rolls Royces and stuff like that was way more fun than hating Israel so much that you would fucking shoot yourself in the foot. I think that has more to do with the fact that they now have good relationships with Israel for the most part.
Popper proposed a more attractive form of social organization.
Driving Rolls Royces is much better than potentially getting Jerusalem back for the king.
An open society in which people are free to hold divergent opinions, and the rule of law allows people with different views and different interests to live together in peace.
What? Are we fucking serious right now, bro? Is he still not swearing in? They're still not swearing in Grijalva? Dude, Mike Johnson refuses to let this Epstein thing go. We are literally going to shut down the government this long for protecting pedophiles. I'm just like... I swear to God, at this rate, she's already going to be running for re-election by the time she gets sworn in. It's been like almost a month. She won in 23rd, right? I don't think I've ever seen this happen. Not once in my entire life. I cannot remember. It's so weird, dude. Where was this fucking post? Politics play. What the fuck? Why is this NSFW? Dude. He just canceled another week? What is happening? He straight up is just, I will not let this person get sworn in so I can stop the Epstein 218th vote memorandum from going through. This is a long shutdown now, so yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of different legacy reporting on it now. I don't care about that.
Democrat government shutdown. Welcome, everyone. Day 10 of the Democrat government shutdown. We're not in a good mood here in the Capitol. It's a somber day.
Oh, yeah, he did. I mean, that's obvious. Remember fucking... Dude, Mike Johnson was about to be fucking... He didn't show up to America Fest. Because... Oh my god, come on. He was getting fucking wrecked. Are you fucking kidding me? Where is it? Oh my god. Like Mike Johnson was supposed to fucking talk here, right? And then like he just didn't show up because everyone was like, "You need to step down."
Today marks the first day federal workers across America will receive a partial paycheck thanks to Democrats' obstruction to the system here. This is the last paycheck that 700,000 federal workers will see until Washington Democrats decide to do their job and reopen the government.
No. Like from Turning Point? No. I mean, obviously there'll be another person who can talk to the public, right? But no, Charlie was successful because he was able to connect with people. He was more than just a pundit, right? No one can really. It's like JD Vance with Trump, right? The reason that I don't think it would work is because only one person can be Trump. JD Vance has the charisma of like a burnt potato chip. So there's no one's going to be like, I'm going to put his face on my t-shirt. But Trump is more than just a man. I think Charlie was on his way to being that. I really do. He really captured an entire generation of young people.
If Democrats don't end this shutdown by Monday, then that October 15th date will pass us by. You've got millions of American families.
I just don't understand how he can say this on the floor. He's the majority House leader.
Who will now have to figure out how to make their mortgage, how to cover their rent, pay the car note, keep food on the table, because Democrats, Chuck Schumer, and his colleagues in the Senate are here playing games.
Good morning. The government has been shut down for 10 days. Our men and women in uniform and hardworking federal employees are working without pay. Donald Trump can find the time to play golf, but he can't be bothered.
What does Donald Trump have to do with this? What?
Negotiating a bipartisan agreement to reopen the government and address the health care crisis that they've created, and House Republicans remain on vacation for 3 weeks.
We all know why this is happening. It's because they don't want to swear in that 218th vote. Grijalva's the final vote. The Democrats have the Republicans to pass that memorandum to release the Epstein files. Straight up. This is ridiculous.
The American people are sick and tired of the chaos, crisis, and confusion that has been visited upon the country by Donald Trump and Republican complete control of Congress. As Democrats, our position remains very clear. We will sit down with anyone, anytime, any place, here at the Capitol or back at the White House, to reopen the government, pay our federal employees, enact a spending agreement that meets the needs of the American people, and at the same time, address the Republican health care crisis that is devastating the American people.
I agree.
Having lived through both Nazi and communist occupation here in Hungary, I found the idea of an open society immensely attractive. While I was reading Popper, I was also studying economic theory, and I was struck by the
Did I just see 3K viewers for Roblox?
Not 4 billion stakes.
Oh my god, the teddy bears.
Oh my god, the sky is on fire.
Which is funny, bro.
That was actually kind of funny. I'll be real, it was. And yeah, I've seen this one before. And damn so true. Game doesn't sell layoffs. Game does sell layoffs. Bad game, layoffs. Great game, layoffs still. We lay them off and then we hire new people to make the sequel. Your team is not efficient, layoffs right away. Straight to layoffs. Your team is too efficient, believe it or not, also layoffs. Yep, welcome to the games industry. Welcome to the tech industry, because people are getting replaced by AI. That's simple. Yeah, corporate communism, I guess so, right? And then, oh no. Twitter user Lucy bought the alleged... No.
Hey everyone, so I bought off Amazon today the exact same shock collar everyone says that Hassan shocked his dog with.
Look at the birds.
Bought. So let's see. I cut off the prongs that came with it with my Dremel, put electrical tape over it because it looks like he did electrical tape over it. And I don't know, it's pretty sus, man. Hold it up. I'm trying to hold it exactly how he did. All right, you might have to mirror it because I think his is mirrored or some
Oh,
shit.
jeez.
I got a little baby hand, so if my hand doesn't exactly fit his profile, you'll have to ignore it. Ignore the birds too; they're a little clingy. But it looks exactly the same, bro. Look at that. And then from like the right angle, like in the shadow, no reflection, you could totally say it's all one piece, and there's no
Literally cannot care less.
contradiction between Popper's emphasis on imperfect understanding and the theory of perfect competition in economics, which postulated perfect knowledge. This led me to start questioning the assumptions of economic theory. These were the two major theoretical inspirations of my philosophy. It's also deeply rooted in my personal history. The formative experience of my life was the German occupation of Hungary in 1944. I was not yet 14 years old at the time, coming from a reasonably well-to-do middle-class background, suddenly confronted with the prospect of being deported and killed just because I was Jewish. Fortunately, my father was well prepared for this far-from-equilibrium experience. He had lived through the Russian Revolution, and that was the formative experience of his life. Until then, he had been an ambitious young man. When the First World War broke out, he volunteered to serve in the Austro-Hungarian army. He was captured by the Russians and taken as a prisoner of war to Siberia. Being ambitious, he became the editor of a newspaper produced by the prisoners. It was handwritten and displayed on a plank, and it was called The
Sorry,
Plank.
that's probably distracting.
This made him so popular that he was elected the prisoners' representative. Then some soldiers escaped from a neighboring...
You know, I've never listened to George Soros ever in my life. I didn't know he had a lecture series. He seems pretty well spoken, pretty well read. So far, what he's saying is like not inflammatory, not too radical, in my opinion. I tend to agree with it so far. Kind of interesting.
camp, and their prisoners' representative was shot in retaliation. My father...
I always thought he was like this guy. This is how gnarly... The truth is, like, whenever I imagine George Soros, I immediately think of this because that's all I remember seeing. But, like, he doesn't really... I'm not even someone who ever believed this, but this is all I can think of, so... I feel like that says something.
Instead of waiting for the same thing to happen in his camp, organized a breakout. His plan was to build a raft and sail down to the ocean. But his knowledge of geography was somewhat deficient. He didn't realize that all the rivers in Siberia flow into the Arctic. They drifted for several weeks before they realized that they were heading for the Arctic. And it took them several more months.
I don't think Keynes' theories argue that there's perfect knowledge in markets. In fact, it argues the opposite, doesn't it? Keynes most definitely did not think markets were like rational in any way, or else he wouldn't have asked the question about unemployment, right? Can you fucking give me the string, dude? Jesus Christ.
To make their way back to civilization across the taiga. In the meantime, the Russian Revolution broke out and they became caught up in it. Only after a variety of adventures did my father manage to find his way back to Hungary. Had he remained in the camp, he would have arrived home much sooner. My father came home a changed man. His experiences during the Russian Revolution profoundly affected him. He lost his ambition and wanted nothing more from life than to enjoy it. He imparted to his children values that were very different from those of the milieu in which we lived. He had no desire to amass wealth or become socially prominent. On the contrary, he worked only as much as was necessary to make ends meet. I remember being sent to his main client to borrow some money before we went on a skiing holiday. My father was grouchy for months afterwards because he had to work to pay it back. Although we were reasonably prosperous, we were not the typical bourgeois family, and we were proud of being different. In 1944, when the Germans occupied Hungary,
kind of weird, but
my father immediately realized that these were not normal times, and the normal rules didn't apply. He arranged false identities for his family and a number of other people. Those who could, paid. Others he helped for free. Most of them survived. That was his finest hour. Living with false identity turned out to be an exhilarating experience for me too. We were in mortal danger. People perished all around us, but we managed not only to survive, but to help other people. We were on the side of the angels, and we triumphed against overwhelming odds. This made me feel very special. It was high adventure.
Where's the grounding moment?
I had a reliable guide in my father.
Where's the grounding moment? For the love of God, please.
What more could a 14-year-old
Where is that grounding moment? Please tell me it's coming.
After the euphoric experience
of
escaping the Nazis,
grounding.
Life in Hungary started to lose its luster during the Soviet occupation. I was looking for new challenges, and with the help of my father, I found my way out of Hungary. When I was 17, I became a student in London. In my studies, my primary interest was to gain a better understanding of the strange world into which I had been born. But I have to confess, I also harbored some fantasies of becoming an important philosopher. I believed that I had gained insights that set me apart from other people. Living in London was a big letdown. I was without money, alone, and people were not interested in what I had to say. But I didn't abandon my philosophical ambitions, even when circumstances forced me to make a living in more mundane pursuits. After completing my studies, I had a number of false starts. Finally, I ended
guess
up
that peace
as
deal,
an arbitrage trader
how's it gonna go?
in New York. But in my free time, I continued to work on my philosophy. That's how I came to write my first major essay, entitled The Burden of Consciousness. It was an attempt to model Popper's framework of open and closed societies. It linked organic society with a traditional mode of thinking, closed society with a dogmatic mode, and open society with a critical mode. What I could not properly resolve was the nature of the relationship between the mode of thinking and the actual state of affairs. That problem continued to preoccupy me, and that's how I came to develop the concept of reflexivity, a concept I shall explore in greater detail a little later. It so happened that the concept of reflexivity provided me with a new way of looking at financial markets, a better way than the prevailing theory. This gave me an edge, first as a securities analyst and then as a hedge fund manager. I felt as if I were in possession of a major discovery that would enable me to fulfill my fantasy of becoming an important philosopher. At a certain moment, when my business career ran into a roadblock, I shifted gears and devoted all my energies to developing my theory. But I treasured my discovery so much that I couldn't part with it. I felt that the concept of reflexivity needed to be explored in great depth. As I delved deeper and deeper into the subject, I got lost in the intricacies of my own constructions. One morning, I couldn't understand what I had written the night before. At that point, I decided to abandon my philosophical explorations and to focus on making money. It was only many years later, after a successful run as a hedge fund manager, that I returned to my philosophy. I published my first essay, The Alchemy of Finance, in 1987. In that book, I tried to explain the philosophical underpinnings of my approach to financial markets. The book attracted a certain amount of attention. It has been read by most people in the hedge fund industry, and it is taught in business schools. But the philosophical arguments didn't make much of an impression. They were largely dismissed as the conceit of a man who has been successful in business and fancied himself as a philosopher. I myself.
This deal, is this... I just don't really understand what the deal is supposed to do, right? I mean, Jerusalem Post, yeah. Is there more to this fucking... Dude, these articles are so bad now, aren't they? Yeah, but like, the deal is one thing, but like, what is it actually gonna do? Gaza's in disrepair, right? Does this like provide any monetary aid to rebuild hospitals, or is Israel just gonna rely on the entire world to fucking supplement food and everything else for like what is Israel just gonna like stop killing terrorists now, or what the fuck is gonna happen right now? It just feels like the Congo and Rwanda type shit, where the writing in the deal between the two governments that don't represent the people who are fighting, all 128 factions in the Congo, it's just not something that matters. I don't know. Like, hasn't the damage already been done in Gaza? They could probably not drop another bomb for a long time and still contribute to killing a lot of Gazans because of famine and blah, 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 right? So, I don't know. I just don't really feel like it's enough. I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, a good thing if they don't drop more bombs. Like, I'm not going to be, it's not like I'm over here like poo-pooing that idea, but
1 in 22 black men will be a murderer in their lifetime. Let me say that again. 1 in 20.
Came to doubt whether I was in possession of a major new insight. After all, I was dealing with a subject that has been explored by philosophers since time immemorial. What grounds did I have for thinking that I had made a new discovery, especially as nobody else seems to think so? Undoubtedly, the conceptual framework was useful to me personally, but it didn't seem to be considered equally valuable by others. I had to accept that judgment. I didn't give up my philosophical interests, but I came to regard them as a personal predilection. I continued to be guided by my conceptual framework, both in my business and in my philanthropic activities, which came to assume an increasingly important role in my life. And each time I wrote a book, I faithfully recited my arguments. This helped me to develop my conceptual framework, but I continued to consider myself a failed philosopher. Once I even gave a lecture with the title, "A Failed Philosopher Tries Again." All this has changed as a result of the financial crisis of 2008. My conceptual framework enabled me both to anticipate the crisis and to deal with it when it finally struck. It has also enabled me to explain and predict events better than most others. This has changed my own evaluation and that of many others. My philosophy is no longer a personal matter. It deserves to be taken seriously as a possible contribution to our understanding of reality. And that is what has prompted me to give this series of lectures. So here it goes. Today, I shall explain the concept of fallibility and reflexivity in general terms.
All right,
Tomorrow,
it's done.
I shall apply them to the financial markets, and after that, to politics. That will also bring in the concept of open society.
No!
In the fourth lecture,
So much
I
buzz.
shall explore the difference
little
between
higher?
market values and moral values. And in the fifth, I shall give some predictions and prescriptions for the present moment in history.
A little better.
I can state the core idea in two relatively simple propositions. One is that the situation that has thinking participants, the participants' view of the world is always partial and distorted. That's the principle of fallibility. The other is that these distorted views can influence the situation to which they relate, because false views lead to inappropriate actions. That's the principle of reflexivity. For instance, treating drug addicts.
This is an interesting talk. I feel like it's kind of a... It's not too very radical though, right?
As
it's very... more of like a reflective journal.
Criminals creates criminal behavior. It misconstrues the problem and interferes with the proper treatment of addicts. As another example, declaring that government is bad tends to make for bad government.
Mine? Jesus, Gran, tell me how you really feel. Looks go. Thought you liked me. Am I a lie? My life's a lie? They're false? I'll have you know, I spend 0 days and 0 time forming mine. Zero. All right, 0. Oh God, that might be loud.
Both fallibility and reflexivity are sheer common sense. So when my critics say that I am merely stating the obvious, they are right, up to a point. What makes my propositions interesting is that their significance has not been generally appreciated. The concept of reflexivity in particular has been studiously avoided and even denied by economic theory. So my conceptual framework deserves to be taken seriously, not because it constitutes a new discovery, but because something as commonsensical as reflexivity has been so studiously ignored.
I had a lesson in guitar intonation, okay, guys? If you have your open string and you play your 12th fret, if it's not the same, as in if it sharpens, right about there, they're kind of the same. Maybe a little bit. If it goes sharp when you press, then you need to increase the string length. I don't think I had a problem with it now. So instead, I'm going to raise the action on my lower side, maybe. Probably should feel it first. Action's too low. Don't slip. Don't do it to me. I can feel it wanting to slip. Oh God. This one's. Ooh. That one was close too. A lot of these are close to slipping. Ooh. Come on. Finger pick worth a damn right now, bro. Holy shit.
Recognizing
Anyways.
reflexivity has
it's
been
good.
sacrificed to the vain pursuit of certainty in human affairs, most notably in economics. And yet, uncertainty is the key feature of human affairs. Economic theory is built on the concept of equilibrium, and that concept is in direct contradiction with the concept of reflexivity. As I shall try to show in the next lecture, the two concepts yield to two entirely different interpretations of financial markets. The concept of fallibility is far less controversial. It's generally recognized that the complexity of the world in which we live exceeds our capacity to comprehend it. I have no great new insights to offer. The main source of difficulty.
He said it himself. I called it, bro. George Soros' Asmongold.
Is that participants are part of the situation.
At least he's got a full head of hair.
They have to deal with. Confronted by a reality of extreme complexity, we are obliged to resort to various methods of simplification, generalizations, dichotomies, metaphors, decision.
Metaphors don't have to be simple.
Rules.
I don't like that word in there.
Moral precepts, to mention just a few. These
Metaphors can be very complex.
mental constructs take on an existence of their own, further complicating the situation. The structure of the brain is another source of distortions. Recent advances in brain science have begun to provide some insight into how the brain functions, and they have substantiated Hume's contention that reason is the slave of passion. The idea of a disembodied intellect or reason is a figment of our imagination. The brain is bombarded by millions of sensory impulses, but consciousness can only process only 7 or 8 subjects concurrently. The impulses need to be condensed, ordered, and interpreted under.
How the fuck can we just like make that statement if the whole topic here now is it's kind of like complex, bro, but let me tell you exactly how many fucking topics the brain can.
Immense time pressure, and mistakes and distortions can't be avoided. Brain science adds many new details to my original contention that our understanding of the world in which we live is inherently imperfect. The concept of reflexivity needs a little more explanation. It applies exclusively to situations that have thinking participants. The participants' thinking serves two functions. One is to understand the world in which we live. I call this the cognitive function. The other is to change the situation to
I wonder where he got that from.
our advantage. I call this the manipulating or participating function. The two functions connect thinking and reality in opposite directions. In the cognitive function, reality is supposed to determine the participants' views. The direction of causation is from the world to the mind. By contrast, in the manipulative function, the direction of causation is from the mind to the world. That is to say, the intentions of the participants have an effect on the world. When both functions operate at the same time, they can interfere with each other. How? By depriving each function of the independent variable that would be needed to determine the value of the dependent variable. Because when the independent variable of one function is the dependent variable of the other, neither function has a genuinely independent variable. This means that the cognitive function can't produce enough independent of the dependent variable, depriving each function of the independent variable that would be needed to determine the value of the dependent variable. Because when the independent variable of one function is the dependent variable of the other, neither function has a genuinely independent variable.
Correct. So you just have two dependent variables?
This means that the cognitive function can't produce enough knowledge to
make a better model,
serve as the basis of the participants' decisions.
What?
Similarly, the manipulative function can have an effect on the outcome, but can't determine it. In other words, the outcome is liable to diverge from the participants' intentions. There is bound to be some slippage between intentions and actions, and further.
Couldn't you just figure this out by defining it as like 1 minus lambda or something like that? You know, like this. 1 minus, we'll just use lambda. Fucking. LaTeX, where are you? Lambda? I don't have a thing for it. LaTeX. Give me math. Inline math. Matrix block. Inline math. Fuck. That's not what I wanted. Like you could define the independent variable as just 1 minus the dependent variable here, accounting for the slippage. So I don't really know what he's trying to say. Math. Lambda. Motherfucker. This symbol. Heck yeah, brother. Fuck. Yeah. So 1 minus lambda, right? Is say y and then x or lambda, okay? In this case is going to be the x. So if you have an x which is going to be a dependent variable, y is now 1 minus the dependent variable. I think he's trying to say that that somehow makes the independent variable reliant on the dependent variable. In a way, I guess, but it does account for the slippage that he's talking about.
The slippage between actions and outcomes. As a result, there is an element of uncertainty, both in our understanding of reality.
The uncertainty is bounded once you pick a number, though, for the slippage.
And in the actual course of events. To understand the uncertainties associated with reflexivity, we need to probe a little
really good parameters and good models.
Further. If the cognitive function operated in isolation, without any interference from the manipulative function, it could produce knowledge. Knowledge is represented by true statements.
Okay, now he's like giving some actual philosophical claims, right? I need to hear that again.
Associated with reflexivity, we need to probe a little further. If the cognitive function operated in isolation, without any interference from the manipulative function, it could produce knowledge. Knowledge.
Why are we assuming this? He's just assuming like that the independent one, we'll just call it f of x, right, in this case, and then we have f of g of x, right, inside. Just functions of functions, right, or how you would generally use models, and you can describe, you know, g of x like this, is equal to, we'll denote this as W or something like that. W subscript T. Fuck, I did the same thing again. Like this, right? And then we can say YT, denote YT is some other variable, right? This is like a basic model in econometrics, right? And you hear this again,
cognitive function, we need to probe uncertainties associated with reflexivity. We need to probe a little further. If the cognitive function operated in isolation, without any interference from the manipulative function.
I mean, would you even have a function then? What would the function do then in this model?
It could produce knowledge.
Without something in it?
Knowledge is represented by true statements. A statement is true if
I feel like
it corresponds to the facts. That's what the correspondence theory of truth tells us.
I actually have never heard that before. I'm retarded. Oh, Bertrand Russell? I've read a lot of Bertrand Russell. How come I don't fucking know this? Ugh. I wish these side things would fucking go away sometimes, bro. Like, let me collapse you, right? Fuck. So annoying. Metaphysical realism, eh? I feel like the correspondence theory of truth here does tie into energy dominant, if you're still in here, that the ideas in Mises a little, right? It's like subjective realism. Subjective a priori objectivity, right? It sounds like an oxymoron, but it's not. Kind of interesting. Metaphysical realism, eh? God, there's no end to fucking philosophy sometimes, man. Grand fetching again. Creating with AI is suspect. Fetching with AI on a scale of like this, I think is still really suspect. I really do. So, for instance, remember that. Where is it? Remember this that I gave in chat, which is like an undergrad economics AI chatbot that'll find and fetch stuff for you in this notebook thing. Super cool. You ask it a question about aggregate, how to address, aggregate. Jesus Christ, aggregate demand side issues. Right? You ask it a question, it'll pull from a very detailed and specific source material, right? Yeah, go ahead. Right? I think this is a good way to use AI at the moment, but when you're pulling from on the online, like just the internet, man, you're not going to get good answers even with AI. I think AI still is not something that should be used to like fetch that much information. It's not going to like put together exactly what you need like the way this can be used, okay? So you should be wary of trusting it so readily, even though it is a really good tool at the moment for fetching information.
But if there is interference from the
like if someone made an AI thing for Stanford of encyclopedia, actually, you know what? Maybe there's one that exists. I'm confused. Interesting. It's like a chatbot, the AI chatbot that like sums up the articles. What the fuck? So if you did it a different way, in which they have PDF friendly versions. Oh, cool. Don't know that. Maybe they have one. Browse. Oh, let's see. Maybe they have a fucking chatbot now that I think about it. Might be kind of interesting. Can I find it in a reasonable amount of time? It doesn't look like it. Fuck. Oh, what about you? Visualizing SCP? Why is it so black? Help. Search articles. I don't know. Let's just do. Fuck. That's not what I want. Realism. Fuck it. What do we got? Whoa. Sick, bruh. Someone needs to fucking fix their goddamn site, though. That's for sure. It's so dark, too. What? Holy crap, bro. Ethics. Interesting. This might be kind of cool. It doesn't pull it. I mean, someone could probably make this so it actually works like this notebook I showed, where you ask it a question like realism, you know, and then it fetches it. But I wouldn't just ask the internet right now.
The manipulative function, the facts no longer serve as an independent criterion by which the truth of a statement can be judged, because the correspondence may have been brought about by the statement changing the facts. Consider the statement, it's raining. That statement is true or false, depending on whether it is, in fact, raining.
Interesting.
Now consider the statement, this is a revolutionary moment. That statement is reflexive, and its truth value depends on the impact it makes. Reflexive statements have some affinity with the paradox of the liar, which is a self-referential statement. But while self-reference has been extensively analyzed, reflexivity has received much less attention. That's strange, because reflexivity has an impact on the real world, while self-reference is purely a linguistic phenomenon. Reflexivity has an impact on the real world, while self-reference is purely a linguistic phenomenon. In the real world, the participant's thinking finds expression not only in statements, but also in various forms of action and behavior. That makes reflexivity a very broad phenomenon that typically takes the form of feedback loops. The participants' views influence the course of events, and the course of events influences the participants' views. The influence is continuous and circular. That's what turns it into a feedback loop. Reflexive feedback loops have not been rigorously analyzed. And when I originally encountered them and tried to analyze them, I ran into various complications. The feedback loop is supposed to be a two-way connection between the participants' views and the actual course of events. But what about a two-way connection between the participants' views? And what about a solitary individual asking himself who he is and what he stands for, and changing his behavior as a result of his reflections? In trying to resolve these difficulties, I got so lost among the categories I created that one morning I couldn't understand what I had written the night before. That's when I gave up philosophy and devoted my efforts to making money.
Holy fuck. You took that moment hard. He's just like, what the hell did I write? I'm fucking retarded, bro. I'm no longer.
To avoid that trap,
deep sigh, drink some water.
let me propose
How is the theory of how is the general theory of reflexivity related to the correspondence theory of truth?
the following terminology. Let's distinguish between the objective and subjective aspects of reality. Thinking constitutes the subjective aspect, events the objective. In other words, the subjective aspect covers what takes place in the minds of the participants. The objective aspect denotes what takes place in external reality. There's only one external reality, but many different subjective views. Reflexivity can then connect any two or more aspects of reality, setting up two-way feedback loops. Exceptionally, it may even occur within a single aspect of reality, as in the case
The irony of AI telling me how it's biased.
case of a solitary individual reflecting on his own identity. This may be described as self-reflexivity. We may then distinguish between two broad categories: reflexive relationships, which connect the subjective aspects, and reflexive events, which involve the objective aspect as well. Marriage is a reflexive relationship. The crash of 2000
Charlie Kirk would say otherwise. He'd say it's a God relationship. Just saying that.
2008 was a reflexive event. When reality has no subjective aspect, there can be no reflexivity. Feedback loops can be either negative or positive. Negative feedback brings the participants' views and the actual situation.
What if reality was like objectively made, but inside of that reality, everything is still like how it is right now, which includes subjectivity? Is that statement still true?
When reality has no subjective aspect.
As in, like, what if objectively reality was made, which means that reality has an objective aspect, or sorry, some type of objective aspect. Oh, I guess he says no subjective aspect. I don't think what I was about to say makes sense now.
There can be no.
I think he means that entirely objective reality, which even in my little scenario wouldn't work.
No reflexivity.
Rip.
Feedback loops can be either negative or positive. Negative feedback brings the participants' views and the actual situation closer together. Positive feedback drives them further apart. In other words, negative feedback is self-correcting. It can go on forever if there are no significant changes in external reality. It may eventually lead to an equilibrium where the participants' views come to correspond to the actual state of affairs. That is what's supposed to happen in financial markets. So equilibrium, which is the central case.
There's no.
In economics, turns out to be a limiting case in my conceptual framework. By contrast, a positive feedback process is self-reinforcing. It can't go on forever because eventually the participants' views would become so far removed from objective reality that the participants would have to recognize them as unrealistic. No.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, man.
Nor can the iterative process occur without any change in the actual state of affairs, because it's in the nature of positive feedback that it reinforces whatever tendency prevails in the real world. Instead of equilibrium, we are faced with a dynamic disequilibrium, or what may be described as far from equilibrium conditions.
I mean, if what he said earlier about dependent variables being the only thing that exists in a way, because independent variables rely on dependent variables, then how does the negative feedback loop find equilibrium? Because it would have to change somehow, irregardless of it doing a feedback loop, right? Which means now you have more variables, and couldn't that very much still keep it from being equilibrium? Even if it's trending that way, it doesn't mean it's going to be that. You have to change something, right? So by changing in a negative feedback loop, I mean, he just assumes that it's just always going to just go to equilibrium. I just don't get it.
Usually, in far from equilibrium situations, the divergence between perceptions and reality leads to a climax, which sets in motion a positive feedback process in the opposite direction. Such initially self-reinforcing, but eventually self-defeating boom-bust processes or
I mean, I feel like cycles are natural in the most profound way. And economies are absolutely cyclical. I know Milton Friedman and neoclassicals don't believe that. They want equilibrium perfectly. That's not a thing, in my opinion.
Bubbles are characteristic of financial markets. But they can also be observed in other spheres. There, I call them fertile fallacies.
Like everything? Cycles can, we die, we fucking are born, winter, fall.
Interpretations of reality that are distorted, yet produce results which reinforce the distortion. I realize that this is all very abstract and difficult to follow.
I just don't. A lot of things are cyclical because they can't attain equilibrium. Because if they did, it wouldn't exist. So it almost feels like he thinks that that negative feedback loops are going to cancel that out.
It would make it much easier if I gave some concrete examples. But you will have to bear with me. I want to make a different point. And the fact that it's so difficult to follow abstract arguments helps me to make it. In dealing with subjects like reality or thinking or the relationship between thinking and reality, it's easy to get confused and formulate problems the wrong way. So Misinterpretations and misconceptions can play a very important role in human affairs. The recent financial crisis can be attributed to a mistaken interpretation of how financial markets work. I shall discuss that.
Dude, I have to know the Jewish overlords better, okay?
In the next lecture.
How else am I going to know which puppet string Mr. Soros is pulling?
In the third lecture, I shall discuss two fertile fallacies, the Enlightenment fallacy and the postmodern fallacy. These
are those fallacies? What?
Concrete examples will demonstrate how
is that a thing? What is a fallacy? Is, or at least a logical fallacy, is an erroneous way in which you make an argument, right? So like, calling entire movements fallacies is a little weird to me, but let's see. Is this just like a phrase that's used to be combative towards the Enlightenment ideas, which is definitely valid? George Lakoff? Okay. A white Buddhist man, I guess, is one way to figure that out. Some dude who did acid and was like, I am finally enlightened. Got it. I don't really know what enlightenment fallacy means. I guess it's George Lakoff or something. Okay.
Important misconceptions have been in the course of history. But for the rest of this lecture, I shall stay at the lofty heights of abstraction. I contend that situations that have thinking participants have a different structure from natural phenomena. The difference lies in the role of thinking. In a natural phenomena, thinking plays no causal role and serves only a cognitive function. In human affairs, thinking is part of the subject matter and serves both a cognitive and a manipulative function. The two functions can interfere with each other. The part of abstraction. I contend that situations that have thinking participants have a different structure from natural phenomena. The difference lies in the role of thinking. In a natural phenomena, thinking plays no causal role. I contend that situations that have thinking participants have a different structure from natural phenomena. The difference lies in the role of thinking. In a natural phenomena, thinking plays no causal role and serves only a cognitive function. In human affairs, thinking is part of the subject matter and serves both a cognitive and a manipulative function. The two functions can interfere with each other. The interference doesn't occur all the time. In everyday activities like driving a car or painting a house, the two functions actually complement each other. But when it occurs, it introduces an element of uncertainty which is absent from natural phenomena. The uncertainty manifests itself in both functions. The participants act on the basis of imperfect understanding, and the results of their actions will not correspond to their expectations. I call that the human uncertainty principle, and I consider it a key feature of human affairs. By contrast, in the case of natural phenomena, events unfold irrespective of the views held by the observers. The outside observer is engaged only in the cognitive function, and the phenomena provide a reliable criterion by which the truth of the observer's theories can be judged. So the outside observer can obtain knowledge. Based on that knowledge, nature can be successfully manipulated. There is a natural separation between the cognitive and manipulative function, and due to that separation, both functions can serve their purpose better than in the human sphere. At this point, I need to emphasize that reflexivity is not the only source of uncertainty in human affairs. Yes, reflexivity does introduce an element of uncertainty, both into the participants' views and the actual course of events, but other factors may also have the same effect. For instance, the fact that participants can't know what the other participants know is something quite different from reflexivity, yet it's a source of uncertainty. The fact that different participants have different interests, some of which may be in conflict with each other, is another source of uncertainty. Moreover, each individual participant may be guided by a multiplicity of values which may not be self-consistent, as Isaiah Berlin has pointed out. The uncertainties created by these factors are likely to be even more extensive than those generated by reflexivity. I have lumped them all together, and when I speak of the human uncertainty principle, which is an even broader concept than...
We must go even wider. I want my net to look like this.
We invite...
Hit me with this net. Shoot, Samurai. Where's my net? The fuck? Jesus Christ. Here we go. This is George Soros right now. It's a lot of uncertainty.
Reflexivity. The human uncertainty principle I am talking about is much more specific and stringent than the subjective skepticism that pervades Cartesian philosophy.
What specificity did I hear just now?
It gives an objective reason to believe that our perceptions and expectations are, or at least
And a
may
link?
be, wrong. Although the primary impact of human uncertainty falls on the participants, it has far-reaching implications for the social sciences.
He said Cartesian, right? He's got to be. He's got to be referring to René Descartes. Not all philosophy is. René Descartes is not the. Who was famously like very logical, rational, right? I don't really think that's the hegemonic
that
attitude.
Pervades Cartesian philosophy.
Subjective criticism pervades Cartesian rational logical philosophy.
Some subjective skepticism that pervades Cartesian philosophy.
Skepticism, I mean. I'm a little lost. Are we thinking about the same guy? How is the dude who didn't even... I'm pretty sure René Descartes, when I read him, I'm pretty sure I don't even remember hearing the word subjective. How the fuck is it?
It gives...
He would definitely... Cartesian philosophy thinks that it is not subjective skepticism.
An objective reason to believe that our perception...
So does René Descartes and Cartesian philosophy. They think it's an objective reason.
The expectations are...
Sorry. Let's say there's a church out there. Yes, I would. I think it would be. 100%. The simple reason is, Samurai, you are going to have a hard time trying to say something is wrong if you don't understand what wrong is supposed to be. Or what good is supposed to look like without wrong. Or at least your perception of that, right? So I think instead of trying to not understand something that's challenging you or your worldview, and instead try to, you know, attack it in a manipulative or, I guess, Cartesian way. I can't believe you just said that. Subjective skepticism of Cartesian philosophy. Famously, René Descartes. I don't know. I can't really answer that one, Bogos. The question he asked me is, do you think they would be more equipped to challenge atheism? And in that respect, I think they would. But I didn't answer whether or not they'd have membership.
Or at least maybe wrong.
I can't really say that one.
Although the primary impact of...
That's not all churches, Bogos.
Human uncertainty falls on the participants. It has far-reaching implications for the social sciences. I can explicate them best by invoking Karl Popper's theory of scientific method. It's a beautifully simple and elegant scheme.
I'm not sure they know what they want. But when you're told that, you might end up thinking that way, yeah. There's no reason that can't change, though. The ideas of heaven and hell, structured post-biblical, right? in the way that you're thinking of was not really present in early Christianity. Early Christians had different ideas of heaven and hell. There's no reason that it couldn't be like that again.
Consists of 3 elements and 3 operations. The 3 elements are...
So, assuming that you know what they would want isn't really a good answer. Maybe.
Scientific laws and the initial and final conditions to which those laws apply. The 3 operations are prediction, explanation, and testing. When the scientific laws are combined with the initial conditions, they provide predictions. When they are combined with the final conditions, they provide explanations. In this sense, predictions and explanations are symmetrical and reversible. That leaves testing, where prediction with the initial conditions, operations are prediction, explanation, and testing. When the scientific laws are combined with the initial conditions, they provide predictions. When they are combined with the final conditions,
I also disagree.
They provide explanations. In this sense, predictions and explanations are symmetrical.
There are a lot of churches that are not fundamental.
And reversible. That leaves testing, where predictions derived from scientific laws are compared with the actual results. According to Popper, scientific laws are hypothetical in character. They can't be verified, they can only be falsified by testing. The key to the success of scientific method is that it can test generalizations of universal validity with the help of singular observations. One failed test is sufficient to falsify a theory.
Yep. But if I drop a pretzel, has there ever been a moment that gravity has failed so far? I mean, this is obviously a very common, superficial question for philosophy, right? But yes, what he's saying is true.
But no amount of confirming instances is sufficient to verify. This is a brilliant solution to the otherwise intractable problem: how can science be both empirical and rational? According to Popper,
how much longer do I gotta go?
It's empirical because we test our theories by observing whether the predictions we derive from them are true. And it's rational because we use deductive logic in doing so. Popper dispenses with inductive logic and relies instead on testing.
Oh my. I mean, I like it. I'm just being funny.
Generalizations that can't be tested do not qualify as scientific. Popper's emphasis on the central role of testing
observational, repeatability, margin of error,
and plays a very important role in scientific method and establishes a strong case for critical thinking, but by asserting that scientific laws are only provisionally valid and remain open to re-examination. Thus, the three salient features of Popper's scheme are the symmetry between prediction and explanation, the asymmetry.
Richard Dawkins? Wait, I didn't see that part. Yeah, Richard Dawkins is not a philosopher. What?
between verification and falsification, and the central role of testing. Testing allows science to grow, improve, and innovate. Popper's scheme works well for the study of natural phenomena, but the human uncertainty principle throws a monkey wrench into the supreme simplicity and elegance of Popper's scheme. The symmetry between predictions and explanations is destroyed because of the element of uncertainty.
Yeah, but he doesn't. I'm pretty sure Richard Dawkins. Are you talking about the God Delusion? Yeah. In like the 70s, bro. For anthropology. This dude's old, you know that, right? He invented that in like 1972 for like a purely biological, anthropological fucking study. Shows him. Why are you even bringing that up? The term meme is for like an anthropological fucking word that's used for like a tool or a common theme in a culture, right? Why is that relevant to what we're talking about? There's a lot of them. Jang. I think the most famous one right now would be Nussbaum. Nussbaum. I read one of her books pretty recently. It was really good. Martha Nussbaum. Nussbaum. This woman. She's really smart. I read where are her books? I can't find her books. That's not true. You have no idea, man. Just wait until all the business degree guys finish their undergraduate. And, you know, they're obviously going to go into fucking... It's coming, bro. Don't worry.
Predictions. And the central role of testing is in danger.
Why can't we... Dude, imagine once we start putting in alpha into philosophy, man. Can't wait to consult philosophy.
Should the...
Ain't no one getting that either, bro. That's not a real degree. And there's no reason to quote Charlie Kirk right now, bro. All right? I actually looked it up. just so you understand, Bogos, the amount of degrees that are even African studies, okay? 193 in 2023. Like, $189 by 12 colleges in 2025. We're fucked, bro. Like, we're being overwhelmed by all of this fucking African studies degree. No, Bogos. And even then, you said gender studies, right? African gender studies. Now, imagine the subset of both gender studies and African studies. So we probably need to like have this or like 1/5 it. So a total of like 5 people are making you that upset to repeat that Charlie Kirk line.
Initial and
Come on,
final
man.
conditions include or exclude the participants' thinking.
You should be more upset at this. %20 of all degrees are business degrees. I don't care what anyone says. This is the same fuck. It's actually worse than gender African studies. Business degrees are fucking worthless. It is underestimated. You could get a degree in philosophy and literally treat it like a business degree. No one fucking cares about a business degree. They just care that you finish the fucking 4 years so they can show some discipline.
The question is important.
You can literally use a communications degree, a fucking African gender studies degree, in a business degree the same way. Apply to the same places.
Because testing requires replicating those conditions. If the participants' thinking is included, it's difficult to observe what the initial and final conditions are, because
I don't have a business degree.
the participants' views can be only
Oh. Econometrics is not business.
be inferred from their statements or actions. If it's excluded, the initial and final
Here, let's just go to a business textbook, bro. A BS. If someone got a BS in business, that'd be a little different. But business administration major, let's go, dude. What do we got? Business analytics? Fuck. ISC? Fuck. Management concentration. How about core business courses, competitive and strategic analysis? Let's go, baby. What are we learning in this class? Mission, vision, School of Business. Michael Porter. There's literally a fucking motivation quote in the syllabus. Okay. Man, I would get a W so fast in this course. Okay. We pursue excellence in all that we do, as our vision is to be an internationally recognized leader in business education and research. Wow, this class sounds great. Students will be able to use a variety of theoretical perspectives to identify and critically evaluate implications of business decisions for organizational stakeholders, customers, employees, stockholders, foreign governments, communities, cultures, regulatory agencies, and the natural environment. Why is the natural environment outside of the parentheses? Anyways, recognize ethical issues, familiarity with alternative frameworks, Bullshit. That's what this class is. Fucking bullshit. Business degrees are bullshit.
Conclusions don't constitute singular observations because the same objective conditions may be associated with very different views held by the participants. In either case, generalizations can't be proper.
I don't agree with Kirk in the sense that I think we should like regulate it. Okay, I think college degrees naturally get formed out of where society is subconsciously and also not subconsciously pushing people to major in. And the United States, unfortunately, is made of bullshit right now. So don't expect and don't be surprised when bullshit comes out. Okay? Maybe if we should just stop being made of bullshit, we would get less bullshit degrees. But I don't think we should be in the business of like trying to litigate which ones are more useful, because I think the problem here is not business degrees are actually bad. Why is 23% of people getting them? It's because people feel like it's the only one and it's a requirement in their head that they should be going towards.
Properly tested.
Because we're made of bullshit and we're pushing bullshit.
These difficulties don't preclude social scientists.
Hi, I'm Melanie. I'm studying the unseen body in creative spaces, erasure and exposure of the queer.
Hey, I'm Nina, and I studied the arts, education, and social justice.
I'm Joyce.
Jim Russell. These are not degrees, but Bogos, I'm glad you found a collage of all 5 people I mentioned in that fucking data search we
Decolonial intimacies, indigenous politics of resistance.
I'm Victoria, and I studied remembering or forgetting, navigating international conflict through collective memory.
Hi.
This is clearly a joke.
I'm Kira, and I study textiles and environmental justice.
Wait, that's a real environmental justice is a real major.
Hi, I'm Nunyala. I'm studying living artfully, art as ritual, therapy, and pathways of decolonial.
This woman looks like she's about to tell me how to enter the 5th dimension. I don't know. UFO.
I'm Naomi.
What?
And I'm studying Black political economy.
UFO?
I'm studying fashion history and gender studies. My name is Marie, and my concentration
Are they really?
is deception for survival, development.
It was like literally, I was literally right there holding the other leg the entire time. Here in the Canadian healthcare system, how it works is you help. It's all on you. They're like, hey, you can come and you can use this facility, but good luck. No, there was one nurse and me. That was it for 95% of the entire thing. Now, I'm not a squeamish person. I didn't mind at all. Actually, it didn't bother me, but I could definitely see how some man may have walked in there a little bit unprepared to have to literally almost deliver the baby. And at the last minute, the OB, the gynecologist, came in and kind of pulled him out. But I was like, fuck, like, are they gonna, like, is the doctor here? Like, what's going on exactly? I didn't really know what to expect. I was like, ah.
Africa, social anthropology. Hi, I'm Ava, and I study unwoman.
We love that. I study fugitive family
Fugitive family, relationships, and identity. The transformative Black woman.
From producing worthwhile generalizations, but they are unlikely to meet the requirements of Popper's scheme, nor can they match the predictive power of the laws of physics. Social scientists have found this conclusion hard to accept. Economists in particular suffer from what
fucking Christ. I knew it. I was like, where is it, dude?
Sigmund Freud might call physics envy. And there have been many attempts to eliminate the difficulties connected with the human uncertainty principle by inventing or postulating some kind of fixed relationship between the participants' thinking and the actual state of affairs. Karl Marx asserted that the ideological superstructure was determined by the material conditions of production. And Freud maintained that people's behavior was determined by drives and complexes of which they were not even aware. Both claimed scientific status for their theories, although, as Popper pointed out, they can't be falsified by testing. But by far the most impressive attempt.
I've never actually watched George Soros. I was curious because I've never watched him. I don't know.
Has been mounted by economics.
So far, I don't really find anything wrong with this theory. I think it's a little bit of an amalgamation of ideas, though. Not really a fully thought out radical concept.
Theory. It started out by assuming perfect knowledge. And when that assumption turned out to be unsustainable, it went through an increasing contortions to maintain the fiction of rational behavior. Economics and
Bogos. Are you out here like this, man? Bogos also felt the same way. Maha. This is you, Bogos. Maha. He's even got the nose, bro. I don't know.
Ended up with the theory of rational expectations, which maintains that there is a single optimum view of the future, that which corresponds to it, and eventually all the market participants will converge around that view. This postulate is absurd.
I'm dismissing the assertions that people make about them. That's what I'm dismissing.
But it is needed
the Bible does
in order to allow
have a
theory.
Rudimentary concept of both of those ideas in the New Testament, but to assert anything about them, especially in the manner in which the Trinity, heaven and hell are asserted in the like post-biblical Catholic parishes and the renegotiations afterwards. Why? Well, because I think people who say what they want the Bible to give them and how they push that on other people is not the same thing as what the Bible says. I think the post-biblical inventions are not something that we should be demonstrably damaging other people's lives over. You know what I mean? You know, when you if you're a parent and you tell your kid that they're going to go to hell because you are using a post-biblical reinterpretation of someone that's not even relevant to what the Bible says, right? But tradition and history have said it is. I think those are two massively different things and not a good thing. Do you think that just because leaders of a religion say something, that means that they're correct? I mean, Catholicism, the Pope is kind of like that, but do you agree with everything the Pope says? Okay, well, you're doing exactly what I just said. Shouldn't you believe everything he says?
The model itself.
If the Pope told you tomorrow that, and let's just assume that everyone changed their mind as well. The Pope told you tomorrow that working on Sunday really does mean that you are going to go to hell, and the whole world suddenly just shifted. Let's just assume it does. Would that mean that it's correct, or that this is something we should do, or would you be okay with that? I mean, like, literally, you would tell your children, like, if you ever do anything on Sunday, you should die, like, in numbers. You're correct, it doesn't. There's a lot of things in the Bible that it doesn't say specifically. But there's a lot of things that people extract from the Bible and say it does. So things like heaven and hell, someone saying that to their kid, you're going to go to hell if you're gay. Again, I'll ask, where does it say that in the Bible specifically? Like, specifically.
On Newtonian physics. Interestingly,
like a knife
both
through butter, bro.
Karl
Just cutting
Popper
the
and Friedrich Hayek recognized in their famous exchange in the pages of Economics
God spared the lesbians.
that the social sciences can't produce results comparable to physics. Hayek inveighed against the mechanical and uncritical application of the quantitative methods.
Samurai, where does it say in the Bible specifically that being gay means you're going to go to hell? So, when I say I'm dismissing post-biblical thought, I'm dismissing the ideas like that.
Of natural science. He called it scientism. And Karl Popper wrote about the poverty of historicism, where he argued that history is not determined by universally valid scientific laws. Never
An epistle means letter, so the whole New Testament would satisfy that, except the Synoptic Gospels. But it mentions this in Romans 12, if I'm not mistaken. And then, but if you actually understand Romans as the letter or epistle from Paul relates to the writing, he's generally talking about the dominating aspect of the Roman pagan culture. It's meant to be more of a pro-Christian, which wasn't really a thing yet. It was still developing. Anti-Roman thing. Why? With Bogos? Let's tell Bogos to stop being a Bogos.
Nevertheless, Popper proclaimed what he called the doctrine of the unity of method, by which he meant that both natural and social sciences should be
You can talk to me about anything, Bible.
judged by the same criteria. And Hayek, of course, became the apostle.
Bogos. What is his word? What word are you talking about? Do you know the Bible is not God's words? Just because you've heard the phrase the word of God by a fundamental Christian doesn't mean that that's what it is. It's not blasphemy, actually.
And social sciences.
You can mess with me if you want.
Is fundamentally different. Therefore, they need to develop different methods and they have to be held to different standards. Economic theory should not be expected to produce universally valid laws that can be used reversibly to explain and predict historic events. I contend that.
What do you think Christianity is, Bogos? Bogos, where have you been? Where have you been? Where? Are you on Earth? Where have you been? Who's false prophet? Well, if you think the Bible is the word of God, Bogos, let's just be a little fun here, okay? So in Galatians, I guess the word of God says that you don't need to follow the Levitical law of God from the Old Testament, right? But in the Old Testament, it says you need to. And then in Matthew says you need to follow the word of God, or sorry, the old law. So how would you interpret that literally? Which part would you throw out? Or would you just like exist in this state of like accepting the very clear paradox from all of these three sections of the Bible, which is just much easier to understand if you just don't take it literally? How would you interpret that literal word? Galatians says the Levitical law doesn't matter. Matthew in the New Testament says it does still. And then Levitical law in the Old Testament says it does matter. Okay, so interpreting the Bible literally is not really important then? Why does it matter then? Just give yourself Jesus Christ, right? Okay, so why did you say earlier that, you know, you'd fill God, if you actually believed in God, you'd fill his word to the letter? So does it matter if you truly believe in God to fill God's word to his letter? Or are you just choosing the very end? and Matthew and Luke and parts of John's writing to be like, salvation is all that matters. Yeah, but can't you, all of that's entirely meaningless, right? All that matters is the one that you just said. So why care? Even the part where it says that you literally have to give yourself to Jesus Christ? Because I thought that was the only part that mattered. Okay, so now we're back to you have to take the whole thing or nothing, right? Correct? Right. Don't make me timer you, bro.
The slavish imitation of natural
I'm gonna make a
science
Bogos timer, bro.
inevitably leads to the distortion of
15
human
seconds,
and
Bogos.
social phenomena. What is attainable in social science falls short of what is attainable in physics. I am somewhat troubled, however, about drawing a sharp distinction.
Okay. So the Bible should not be taken literally. I'm fine with that. I don't think your conclusion there is really relevant, though. I don't really know what picking and choosing, if you decide not to, means that you don't believe, or why it means you have to do that without questioning, but I like this part's fine. And then it's just like holy presumption.
Distinction between the natural and social sciences.
Okay. So once again, I just want to say God never claims this. Okay. Never claims to be God's word in the Bible, so kind of hard to say that one. And then second, if we do assume that it is God's word and God says to do this, well, we're back to the question again. God says, follow the Levitical law. And then in Matthew says, follow the Levitical law. And then in Galatians, God says, Levitical law doesn't really matter sometimes. How would you go about doing that unquestioningly? Because if you did that unquestioningly, you'd find that you are invalidating the obeying part.
Such dichotomies are usually not found in reality. They are introduced by us in our efforts to make some sense out of an otherwise confusing reality. Indeed, while a sharp distinction between physics and social sciences seems justified, There are other sciences, such as biology and the study of animal societies, that
Obeying unquestioningly, though, Bogos, means that you're now not obeying. That's what I'm pointing out. How would you obey very obvious contradiction?
occupy
You'd end up disobeying.
intermediate position. But I had to abandon my reservations and recognize a dichotomy because the
Okay, so Matthew, though. Matthew is a synoptic gospel, right? Is probably one of the most important parts of the New Testament, if not the most, because it fixes a lot of prophetical errors in Luke and other parts. Paul is a letter from Paul and wasn't even included in the canon until later. Matthew is probably more of the authoritative if we want to go off early Christianity. So, I don't know about that.
social sciences encounter a second difficulty from which the natural sciences are exempt. And that is that social theories are reflexive. Heisenberg's discovery of the uncertainty principle didn't alter the behavior of quantum particles one iota.
Yeah, I said yeah.
Social theories, whether Marxism, market fundamentalism, or the theory of reflexivity, can affect the subject matter to which it refers. Scientific method is supposed to be devoted to the pursuit of truth. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle does not interfere.
I don't really like thinking about it that way. Oh. About answering it, right? I did respond. Oh, you mean... Oh, I see. It's above. I think? Yeah. Why? Okay. Well, for the first one, it would be in Leviticus 22, right? The Levitical law there is about a man lying with the lines of a woman or something like that. And most scholars have interpreted that to be included because a woman, and it's surrounded contextually by this, okay? A woman who's on her period is considered to be unclean, and the bed she sleeps in back in the day was considered to be unclean. So you were not supposed to sleep with a man on the bed of a woman. And it says on the lines of a woman or something like that in the original Hebrew. It's actually like a little unclear, but most scholars have now interpreted to mean that it's more about the uncleanliness aspect, especially since all the contextual verse says that. And then second, the Romans one is about a Christian formulation response to Roman paganism and Roman. Paul is trying to demarcate Roman sexual behavior or just behavior in general, not really homosexuality because there was no concept of it then. It was more about the dominating part. If you were dominated by another man, that was considered to be immoral. So the person doing it, though, was not. Why it's included in Paul's letter in Romans, it's trying to be a pro-Christian, early Christian message for Christians living under Roman rule at the time. And then there's one third one in Acts. I just don't really think that one's that relevant.
With that postulate. But the reflexivity of social theories does. Why should social science
I guess the main answer to the question is that they weren't included for homosexuality. The verses themselves don't even understand homosexuality.
Itself to passively
They, I mean, that's what it means. It means they don't have an understanding of it. All of the Bible and ancient history had no clue what homosexuality was. It's not like today. When we think of homosexuality, we have a lot of other information that supplements that definition. That's not something that was around when the Bible was written.
studying social phenomena when it can.
And what people do is they apply a framework of post-biblical thought about gay homosexuality onto what the Bible says. But nowhere in the Bible does it really understand what it is.
Change the state of affairs. As I remarked in The Alchemy of Finance, the Alchemy of Finance, the alchemists made a mistake in trying to change the nature of base metals by incantation. Instead, they should have focused their attention on the financial markets, where they could have succeeded. How could social science be protected against this interference? I propose a simple remedy. Recognize a dichotomy between the natural and social sciences. This will ensure that social theories will be judged on their merits and not by a false analogy with natural science. I propose this as a convention for the protection of scientific method, not as a...
Sorry, I didn't answer your question, Graham. What if humanity started off as evil and aggressive? That's a reason why they find it easier to justify genocide. I feel like what you asked is just kind of something we can look at like a baby at and be like, we know that's just not the case. I mean, I don't think humanity starts off as evil and aggressive.
The demotion or devaluation of social science. The convention sets no limits on what social science may be able to accomplish. On the contrary, by liberating social science from the slavish imitation of natural science and protecting it from being judged by the wrong standards, it should open up new vistas. It's in this spirit that I shall put forward my interpretation of financial markets tomorrow. I apologize for dwelling so long in the rarefied realm of abstractions. I promise to come down to earth in my next lecture tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Samurai. So this is talking about, obviously, I think you're talking about the word sodomites, right? Right? Pretty good. So a sodomite is not homosexual. The act of sodomy is a domination act. And you can do that. You can perform sodomy with a woman, by the way. So this verse doesn't mention homosexuality. It's talking about people who commit sodomy on others when they dominate. Doesn't look like it did a good job. Yeah, like dominating. A man dominating another man. You have a dominator and you have a submissive. Or submit. So the word sodomite there is not really like an understanding of homosexuality whatsoever. Hmm. They do, yeah. Extensively. They're very common in that subreddit. Here you go. Intro to channel. I'm an independent who studied econometrics. I despise Trump. I play music shittily, and then right now I'm reading about the Bible and how Romans does not say that gay people are awful. How are you doing? Nice to meet you. I'm pretty flexible with my political opinions and like my isms, so I think at least, I don't know. There's more samurai and blah 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 blah. Here you go. Here's another one. These two are good ones to read. This second link, little less academic though, but nonetheless, argument's fine. The Romans didn't have a concept of bi either, though. Even if they were, they didn't have a concept of it. As far as Corinthians goes, though, Samurai, I can't remember that one off the top of my head. Just give me a sec. 6:9. I think this is another. Yeah, that's kind of the problem with the Bibles and judgment that people like to assert off of what it says about homosexuality, which is nothing because no one really had an idea of it then. It says sodomites again, so contextually irrelevant. I'm curious what it says in the NIV and stuff, though. What people think it says, and actually no. Let's see. Find out. There we go. Looks like both of these verses use a word that most definitely doesn't imply any sexual homosexuality, my friend. Morality of submissive homoeroticism. There you go. A really detailed, complex way of kind of saying what I said earlier. Concept of homosexuality not there. Most likely refers to an idea present of within the idea of homoeroticism, but that's not really a good conclusion. It's mainly just about the dominating passive partner part of it.
Showcased our commitment to the United States with this $4.5 billion investment in the beautiful Commonwealth of Virginia to manufacture what we call
The reason I think they think it's a sin is because they've been told it's a sin. Sometimes it's just that simple.
API.
You know what I mean? You can't really blame people for being told that. But that's really just what it is.
Active ingredients for our medicines, but also antibody.
You know, just if you think about it again, you can take the Bible and think about it in a million different ways. No, they've been told that. The Bible, as we just looked at, for the 20 minutes I just spent looking at Corinthians and Timothy, how many different ways do you think we could have come up with what we thought it said? I could have claimed a lot of things. No, sodomites mean specifically, this. Fornicators mean specifically women who commit adultery or something. It's just like, it's really not a good thing to do. So you have to think about it that way. I think it felt a little lacking. It just kind of covered basic. It didn't bring up George Soros. I guess it's his idea, right?
Conjugates that are
Maybe type in George Soros's theory of reflexivity.
Cancer care, what is called smart chemotherapy, targeted chemotherapy. I want to thank Dr. Oz for joining us for the groundbreaking ceremony near Charlottesville, together with Governor Youngkin. And I actually love your AstraZeneca hat. I know you wanted to bring a shovel,
Hello.
but didn't make it to this beautiful room. I have to say, it has been a great pleasure to work with Governor Youngkin and his team, in particular Secretary Segura, on this investment.
Who is this fucking weird yappy guy?
Like you, President Trump.
Yeah. I think I'd talk less confidently in psychology, though. I have a cognition book that one of my friends asked me to read, and it was pretty interesting. Definitely not as equipped, though, I think, to talk about that. Yeah. Now I'm equipped to talk about that. I love dunking on Jordan Peterson, bro. Even though he was a clinical psychologist, but nowadays he's just with a pretty high H index, apparently. Send me the Jordan video. I haven't laughed in a long time.
There's kind of two ways of looking at the world.
I think that Jubilee video kind of fucked him.
There's more, but we'll start with that. One is that...
Well, you're really quite nothing. Like, he got destroyed by a 14-year-old atheist. Well, you're really quite something. Well, you're really quite nothing.
All of your knowledge comes from outside sense data.
Oh.
Okay, and that's kind of a behaviorist claim, and before that, it's an empiricist claim. And then the other idea is, no, that can't be right, because you have internal structures that enable you to look at the world and interpret it. And so,
he does? Oh. No, they can't say that because then it would invalidate the idea that, you know, it's biblical. So like reject the idea that something you believe your whole life that comes from a position of authority, right? Gays are immoral acts of degeneracy that God doesn't allow is going to be hard if you finally come to the conclusion. You have to reject a lot about yourself that the Bible actually does not say that. if you've been told that your whole life.
And some of those might be implicit, axiomatic, like the fact that you have two eyes and you look at the outward into the world, and that you can hear and that you can touch. It's
That's not axiomatic.
like the fact of
A lot of the stuff about our senses are not axiomatic
those
whatsoever.
senses isn't dependent on the empirical reality for those senses to manifest themselves. They're already built into you. And people like Kant, for example, made the proposition that we had a priori knowledge structures and that we used them to interpret the world. And so it's different than empiricism. And so what Piaget is saying, well, neither of those are right exactly. It's not like you will learn everything from the world through your senses. And it's not as if you project everything onto the world as interpretation. It's something in between, and it's a dynamic. It's a dynamic. And so, and it's like bootstrapping.
Yeah, but a lot of people do think that they're evil. And the justification is that there's a biblical argument there, right?
That's the right way to think about it. You know, when your computer boots up, that means bootstrapping. It's
Which I
off,
think is bad.
and then a bunch of simple processes occur, and then out of those simple processes, some more complex processes emerge, and then out of those, some more complex processes emerge, and all of a sudden, your computer is there. Well, that's kind of what Piaget thinks happens to you. You bootstrap yourself. And so you have got a couple of reflexes to begin with, like the sucking reflex, for example, and you've got some proclivities, like maybe you can sort of flip your hand, or you develop that, and you have reflexes. So, you know, if you
this kid here, dude, he's definitely on his phone.
Blow on a baby, for example, the baby will go like this. It's built into it. It's like it's a startle reflex, essentially. So that startle reflex is there right from the beginning. It's a whole body reflex. And you know, if you stroke the bottom of their feet will sort of curl up, and if you put your finger in their hands, even a newborn, if you put your finger in their hands, you can lift them right up. And it's sort of, well, clinging ape thing, you know, because chimpanzee infants cling to their mother for like 5 years, and so that reflex is still there. So the kid
no, I know not all.
comes into the world born with these simplistic, low-resolution procedures that enable it to get a foothold on the world, and then out of that the child emerges. And
Theory of mind.
so the constructivist idea is that, well, it isn't like you have your head's full of fully developed axiomatic structures, and it isn't that you get all your knowledge from the world. It's that you have a bit of structure there to begin with that gives you a toehold on the world, and then you act in the world. And as you act, you generate information, and out of that information you make the structures inside of you, and you make the world. That's a
It's absorbs, yeah.
constructivist idea, is that you take whatever's there, this tremendous complexity,
It's a very postmodern take.
and you sort it into you and the world. And so that goes back to that William James idea about that initial chaos. And it's a hard concept to grasp, because that isn't really how we think. You know, we think that there's an objective world and there's a subjective world, and that the objective world is just there, and the subjective world is maybe a subset of that. But that is not Piagetian presupposition. It's not a presupposition of phenomenologists in general, who we'll talk about later. But
A what? A what? Someone who studies like a neuroscientist or like consciousness?
So subjective world is maybe a objective world, and that the objective world is just there, and the subjective world is maybe a subset of that. But that is not Piagetian presupposition. It's not a presupposition of phenomenologists in general, who we'll talk about later. But so here's one example of how to think about this in a sense. It's like, you know, you think, as Piaget said, you kind of think that your representations of the world are fixed. So we'll go back to the you're in a long-term relationship and the person betrays you scenario, right? So you've been with this person 10 years, you assume fidelity and faithfulness and honesty and all of that. You weave a shared narrative, you both inhabit that.
Because they're told how to interpret the verse and what it means. As in, when you read the Bible, reading the Bible is not enough to know what it says. If you read the Bible and didn't go on to try and understand why it was contextually written or how the word is used in different translations, in the LXX versus the Septuagint, you know, blah, 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 then it's very easy. In fact, almost not impossible to misrepresent what the Bible says.
It's struck.
Like in the NRSVUE, the word fornicator is not the correct word. And you probably, when you see, if you want to actually study the Bible, you should have an actual Greek translation of the New Testament next to you with something else supplementary to it, because you need to contextually verify pretty much every word. Sometimes.
Structures your existence and regulates your emotion. Then you find out that the person has not only betrayed you once, but multiple times. It's like, okay, what you thought isn't what happened. But here's the weird thing, you see, because you interpreted the world, obviously, within the confines of that relationship. And you had an, you know, obviously you had an interpretation, but there was also a world. That's the world you thought you lived in. It's like, those were facts. Well, all of a sudden, those aren't facts. They're not at all facts. And so what happens? That's that descent into the underworld. It's like all of a sudden, what happens is that past that you thought was fixed now becomes this weird mixture of fantasy, because you're wondering, well, what is it that happened then? And you're going to run through all sorts of fantasies. Some of them are going to be really dark, you know, really dark about what happened in the state of the world and all that. And those are unconscious fantasies. And that's mingled inextricably with the world.
He's doing the spell casting, bro. The moment you know Jordan Peterson is about to fucking become an RPG is when he starts fucking
right? Because you don't know the facts anymore.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know enough about it. I feel as if you'll have to wait on my response for that. I don't think he represented it well though there, just by listening to it though. I don't think it makes, just from how it sounded, it doesn't seem like it makes that many metaphysical claims. He's making a lot of metaphysical claims. Yeah, there's nowhere. I'm not reading anywhere the amount of metaphysical claims that Jordan's fucking adding on.
Which kind of suggests that maybe you never did know them. And that's a pretty strange thing because, you know, you're operating as if you've got this factual representation of the world, but it can be upended like that. And so that makes you think, well, what about these facts? Like, they're kind of hard to get a handle on, you know, and you see this a lot in courtroom situations because, of course, what the court decides is what happened. And the answer is, we don't exactly know because you can keep making the context of interpretation wider and wider. So, you know, maybe you bring your partner to court because they've betrayed you, let's say, and you're trying to get a divorce settlement predicated on that, but then they tell a bunch of stories about how you were just as miserable as you could possibly be and that anybody with any sense would have betrayed you and never told you about it because, you know, that's just what a normal, sensible person would do. And so then the question is, well, were you actually betrayed? And if you were, well, who was it that betrayed you? Was it your
I think that means you were still betrayed, technically.
partner, or was it you?
You just deserved the betrayal? I don't know.
Was it your bloody mother or your father who taught you to act that way or who didn't teach you? It's like, it's a hell of a thing because you can just keep altering the interpretive context, and within it the facts shift around, and then you might say, well, they're not facts. It's like, yeah, you can say that, but it's more complicated than that by a large margin. Anyways, so Piaget's notion is essentially that, well, this is how I interpret it. This is sort of this is my thinking in some sense, but I'm offering it to you as a scheme.
Yes. Correct. Yep. Yep. Everything you said, I agree with. 100% correct.
Scheme for helping you understand Piaget. It's like
I actually don't have anything to comment.
Jerome Bruner, famous
100%.
famous cognitive psychologist, said, we seem to have no other way of describing lived time except in the form of a narrative. And a narrative, as far as I can tell, I think this is the same thing as one of Piaget's knowledge representations. As far as I can tell, there's a representation of you and there's a representation of the future, and there's behaviors that you use to transform one into the other. And so when Piaget talks about, so this is kind of where the mind meets the body. That's how it looks to me. It's like you have a conception of you and you have something you're aiming at, you want to have happen. Those are both representations. But when you act in the world, those aren't representations anymore. Those are actually actions. And so mind transforms into body when you act out your notion. And that's sort of how the mind is linked to the body as far as I can tell. And so what Piaget says is that...
My God. Good. Thing was covered in dust. Well, if you look up the contextual part of Timothy 2:12, right, where it says that the Bible is the breath of God or whatever, that is not the same thing as saying the Word of God. And it actually says, I think in the Septuagint, it says, well, the Bible is what breathes life into, or like it breathes life into the Word. Isn't like, it's not saying that it's actually the Word of God. And the other part of that is this didn't include Paul's writing whatsoever when Timothy 2:12 was technically written, so, which probably wasn't by Timothy. With all that in mind, now it becomes once again a little suspect.
The behaviors are built before the representation, and so we're going to take a look at that. So
the Timothy 2:12 does imply that it's inspired, yeah.
here's Piaget's notion of assimilation and accommodation. Whereas other animals cannot alter themselves except by changing their species. So that's through Darwinian means, right? So what happens is a bear is a kind of solution to a set of problems. And they're the problems that the bear's environment presents. And the bear is just a bear, so it's sort of like bears were 10,000 years ago. And the only way the bear can solve a new problem, basically, is by generating new random bears, which is what it does.
Why does he have to say it? It's so funny to hear him. New random bear.
Does when it reproduces, and hoping that one of those more random bears is a better fit for whatever random change might occur in the environment. That's the whole Darwinian issue, right? You can't predict which way the environment.
Well, being the literal word of God and being inspired by God are two different things, right?
Environment's going to go.
The Quran claims to be the literal word of God. In that case, which I also disagree with, because I think that's a little ridiculous. I think the renegotiation there will be even harder, but it's probably why I think Islam is not really a good religion either. I think the Bible at least allows for someone to have movement.
And so what you do is you take your structure and you vary it.
But being inspired and the literal word are two different things.
And some animals do that expensively, so they have infants that they have to program to that specific environment, but it takes a lot of investment. And
kind of, yeah. Interesting video. Probably one of his better videos, actually. His older videos are generally, I mean, as long as it's not a map of Medium 1, but those fucking videos are crazy. But I think I'm going to stop here, guys. My point of strength. Yeah. That's fine with me. In a way, it kind of does, doesn't it? Oh wow, it's fast rate.
Liberation, phenomenological, existential,
Holy moly.
ontological concern with understanding being. Starting point. Yo, Sirkar, rated again. What's good? Thank you. Thank you very much. What is, out of curiosity, what was compelling about this channel that is, you know, having you come here? Welcome, Raiders. Welcome. Hello, hello. Samurai Destroyer. Welcome. We are talking about Indian spirituality and specifically, if I'm going to get, Advaita Vedanta. I recommended it. Oh, Energy Dompter. What's good? My Energy Dompter. Energy Dompter's for everyone. He's to be enjoyed at all places. Welcome, yeah. Yeah, are you guys a philosophy stream as well? What types of things? Cue the drums. And of course, are you religious? I am not particularly religious, but I can easily empathize with a lot of like religious concepts and especially when it comes to experience and conscience and all the things there. We discuss philosophy, politics, religion, and economics at CIRCAR. Nice. I'm religious, actually. Nice. Well, welcome. And my awful music. What kind of music is that?
The one that Gran likes.
Yeah, on this channel, we try to stay out of the politics and economics, but we do go into the philosophy and religion here and there. But yeah, on Fridays it's a free for all. We go in any direction as possible, but on all the other days we are focused on this document, which is concerned with how to live a meaningful, emotionally rewarding, and morally good life. And we are slowly walking towards a curriculum, let's just say, in that direction. Fortunately, the one part that we have done, part 1, so there's 3 parts, is the philosophy-rich one. So it's actually more scientifically rich. Like it's all the science about how we experience and understand the world, and then we use that to bridge we actually intuitively think about our own self and our own freedom in the world, like leveraging philosophy of mind. So all right, I am in the US. Cirker and I went back and forth when discussing about the Bible. Sounds cool.
All right, my friends.
Thank you.
I have to go to work.
Thank you for following.
Thank you all for watching. If you're still here.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope
feel
you have a
free
wonderful
to
night.
just, pop
Later,
in
guys.
whenever.